Welcome to the Terrible Podcast with your hosts from SteelersDepot.com, where you can find all your latest and greatest Steelers news. It's Dave Bryan and Alex Kozora, always lit, talking Steelers.
And now, here's Dave and Alex.
Welcome to the Terrible Podcast, Season 16, Episode 45. He's Dave Bryan. I'm Alex Kozora, SteelersDepot.com. Thanks for being back with us this Monday, Steelers Nation, and the first true victory Monday for the Pittsburgh Steelers, as in the players get today off for the first time all season, scoring a big and critical 27-20 win over the Indianapolis Colts on Sunday. Pittsburgh now 5-3 on the season, avoid a 3-game losing streak, and really needed this one. So I know you and I, Dave, probably thought we'd be starting this show with doom, gloom, despair, and agony. It's more walking on sunshine today as the Pittsburgh Steelers get a big win in so many ways, really play their best game of the season. So Dave, how you doing?
I'm doing good on this Victory Monday, and it is nice to have one so we can don't have to worry about players holding media sessions this morning. Do you know who do you know the band who sang that Walking on Sunshine?
I don't think I do, actually.
I think it's Katrina and the Waves, isn't it? You want to Google
tell
that?
me. I'll get my Googling started early on this show.
All right, Walking on Sunshine.
Yes, you are right. Katrina. Yeah. Is that like a one-hit wonder thing?
Yeah, I think it was,
okay.
For the most part. 1983, good Lord, I was doing bad things in high school about that time. So, yeah, Walking on Sunshine for sure. A lot to talk about today. Obviously, the defense came and answered the bell. Weird to see all the kind of funeral stuff that they had staged outside Acrisure prior to the game and all. And you didn't really know what you're going to get. You thought you're going to get a higher scoring game than what you did. You thought maybe the offense would perform a little bit better than what they did, but look, it was the defense and all the alumni. Good thing they did. How about inviting the alumni to every game?
Bring them back.
Moving forward here, but the defense is the talk. Obviously, today when you have 6 takeaways and 5 sacks, and the offense produced 24 points, I believe, off of turnovers. And you know, you want to talk about 30,000-foot views to open up a show. I mean, I think that's what it is. I mean, even in the aspects of parts of the game where the Colts started to seem to get some momentum offensively, stringing together, you know, couple 2, 3, 4 plays in a row. The fourth or the fifth play was a negative play produced by the defense, either, you know, a sack or a nice stop or a turnover, and basically stopped the Colts offense in their tracks. And we saw the defense actually make some adjustments in this game, and we kind of got a heads up of it prior to the game with Bob Labriola's weekly conversation with Mike Tomlin, talking about how, you know, Jalen Ramsey's gonna play free safety in this game. And, you know, we went into wondering how much Kyle Duggar would play once he was added to this team midweek, and he had his first practice on Thursday. And then you had all the stuff happen with the other safeties and Chuck Clark and the illness, and who was the other one there? Jabril Peppers having I think it was a quad that kept him out, and you were low on safeties. And they not only did Kyle Duggar play, he played all but one snap on defense, and wasn't hugely impactful as far as a play-by-play basis, but how they used him along with Ramsey, I think, ended up being impactful overall. But yeah, we're going to talk a lot about the defense today, and it was a good win. And you know, didn't really see this one coming, and this team needed it for sure. And with that, I guess we can start transitioning into the kind of the housekeeping part of our Monday show.
Well, just to give my 30,000-foot view, they say the best kind of funerals are a celebration of life, and the Pittsburgh Steelers have life after
Oh,
showing they can beat a team, AFC contender, number one seed in the Colts. And so that is proof of concept in itself that will hopefully instill some confidence in this team and also this fan base. Defensively, that is the talk of the day for all the attention, rightfully so. 6 takeaways gets you 6 takeaways, 5 sacks, 1 win. Stopping the run is still where it started. To hold Jonathan Taylor in check, having an MVP caliber season, that was such integral part to how the Colts operate their business. I know against the Packers, stopping the run did not mean the defense was guaranteed to have a great day, but if you could not stop Jonathan Taylor, it's guaranteed a failure. It may not guarantee success of a great day, but it will guarantee failure if you could not bottle that guy up and then take away the run games. That's for me still where it began. We talked on the Friday show about the Colts offense. Everyone talked about Daniel Jones and Pierce and Warren. I said it starts with number 28, and that was so critical in this game. Pittsburgh's played really good run defense these last 2 games against good running backs in Josh Jacobs and Jonathan Taylor. But then your star stepping up, playing splash, the coverage adjustments all played big roles in this victory.
yeah, absolutely, it did. And once again, any time that the Colts started to get momentum, it seemed on offense at different points of the game, and specifically there, I think in the third quarter, it didn't last long because a negative play was right around the corner, and obviously a few of those produced turnovers, and those ended up being crucial points of the game as well too. The Colts never could get any really sustained outside of the first really drive, I guess, of the
Hmm.
game that they had. They now look, they were still 6 of 14 on third down, which isn't awful. And then how many fourth downs? Oh, 5 for 5 or something, I think,
Yep.
on fourth downs. Obviously, one of those was the fake punt, but they were still converting in certain situations, and that's where those huge negative plays and turnovers produced by the Steelers ended up being integral because once again, anytime they could string anything together, it was stopped dead in their tracks by negative play or a turnover.
My last 30,000-foot view up the mountain, then we'll get to our housekeeping, is Pittsburgh played a good second half. We've seen this story before. Pittsburgh up 17-7 at the break. They've led by at least 7 points in all 3 of their losses this season. So it was a good first 30 minutes, but I think we were all kind of thinking, all right, hold on. We've seen this script before in Pittsburgh. Not a perfect second half, but only outscored 13-10. The Colts getting that, not garbage time field goal, but late field goal when the game was essentially over. Pittsburgh recovering the final onside kick. So they finished this game, and that was really encouraging.
Absolutely, and it was good to see, uh, uh, obviously JPJ finish it with an interception, so to speak. Even though I think the Colts got the ball back one more time and came down for a field goal and all, but once again, a situation where you got a turnover at the key point of the game there. Yeah, the Colts had what, 13 points in the fourth quarter on this. Now, look, there were a lot of I don't want to say garbage yards, but it was clear that the Steelers didn't want the ball thrown over their head once they had a pretty sizable lead and were giving up some stuff underneath. One key stat in this game was they only allowed, I think it was 88 yards after the catch in this game, and Daniel Jones ended up throwing for 342. And when you look at it he had completed 31 passes in this game, and you divide that into 88, a lot different scenario than we saw against the Packers when they had all of those yards after the catch. So the Steelers really rallied to the ball well overall, tackling the catch, and didn't obviously give up a lot of yards after the catch. I think they gave up 3 explosive plays in total in the game. And yeah, it was good to see them make the changes that they made defensively, and it was obviously good to see them get the sacks and the takeaways.
All right, Dave. Our housekeeping presented as always every Monday by Touring Plans. Another quick programming note: Dave and I have a live stream tonight, 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Should be a pretty pleasant one compared to the last one coming off. I think that Bengals lost. But Touring Plans are a longtime sponsor during training camp. Now, every single Monday, if you're planning a trip to Disney this winter, maybe for the holiday season or to ring in the new year for Disney World, Disneyland, Disney Cruise Lines, any information, all information about Disney to make that trip as enjoyable and smooth as possible, check out our friends, touringplans.com. Len Testa, owner of Touring Plans, I'm sure loved this win yesterday. He's a big-time diehard Steelers fan, so happy he could watch this victory. Do you want any information on restaurant reviews, how to save money on tickets, what's the wait time for certain parks and places and rides, which those things can be 90 minutes for rides, which is insane. People standing in line that long. So learn how to avoid all that and have the best time possible at touringplans.com. And Dave, we thank them for their continued sponsorship of our Monday housekeeping. I'm going to maybe have to phone a friend here to get all the housekeeping in a row. There's a lot going on here. As you mentioned, Dave, some players going backwards from the Friday injury report. Chuck Clark, Cole Holcomb did not play due to illness. Jabril Peppers ruled out with a quad injury. Corey Trice Jr. ruled out. He's still on IR, but the knee injury might be serious, and that's just unfortunate for him. Pittsburgh making a couple roster moves. Before the game, they activated inside linebacker Malik Harrison off of injured reserve to the 53-man roster. He played a healthy amount of snaps in this game. Pittsburgh elevated a pair of running backs for this game, which was a little surprising, in Trey Sermon and Lou Nichols made his NFL debut. Both played on special teams, and that's why they were called up for special teams help. Inactive, Scotty Miller, Peppers, Pete, Logan Lee, Clark, and Holcomb. Injury standpoint, in-game, Isaac Seumalo re-aggravated that pec injury. He did not finish out the game. Don't know the severity of that. Darius Slay dislocated his finger. Per Mike Tomlin, he finished out the game. Am I missing any of the many, many things that happened before and during the game, Dave?
Sound like you did a really good job on that housekeeping portion there. The inactive list went pretty much as planned. I kind of wondered whether or not we'd see DeMarvin Leal in a uniform versus Logan Lee, because remember, this team had lost Daniel Quale, and you kind of wondered if they'd have another bigger body in there, perhaps in Logan Lee. So my prediction, I predicted Logan Lee to dress and DeMarvin Leal not to dress, but they went the other way there. The other ones were easy to choose because you had Miller out. You obviously had Jabril Peppers out. You had Chuck Clark out. You had Holcomb out. And then because Seumalo was able to go this week, it made Andres Pete inactive once again. And we had talked earlier in the week wondering if we would see Pete active for the first time this week because of the Seumalo, kind of wondering, going into the week with the pec, but he made it by game time, so that left Pete as the odd man out. It will be interesting to see. This is a couple of weeks in a row now that Seumalo has not been able to finish the game because of the pec injury there, so that's a little bit concerning. Alex Highsmith dinged up early, and Slade dinged up early. You kind of wonder, are both these guys going to be out for the rest of the game, kind of the way they went out, but both returned to the game. And man, Highsmith ended up after that injury happened, he came back, had a hell of a damn game there. So bumps and bruises associated with play, and I guess the big names to watch going forward this week obviously would be Seumalo and a couple of those safeties in Jabril Peppers and Chuck Clark, who missed a game, and Cole Holcomb, I guess, as well too, because he was inactive due to an illness there. So I think relatively they came out of this game fairly well.
Yeah, Seumalo going to be the name to watch against the Chargers for Sunday night, Week 10. Will Howard remains on IR. Pittsburgh still has an open roster spot on the 53-man roster. They sit at 52 after activating Harrison. Pittsburgh had 5 running backs and 4 tight ends active for this game. You don't see that one too often, but again, special teams help for guys like Nichols and Sermon. Anything else? I'm just trying to rack my brain here, Dave. Any other housekeeping notes? Yeah, the safety depth was certainly thin in this game. You had Duggar, you had Thornhill, and you had Ramsey. Ramsey playing safety full time in this game. Thornhill did not play a single snap, and so that says a lot when the guy who just got here Thursday is completely out snapping you. I know Duggar's more strong safety, Thornhill more free, and Ramsey was playing free, but still it was the Duggar and Ramsey show. So, Dave, let's dive on in. Let's start with this Pittsburgh Steelers defense. Really bowed up in this one, stopping the run, creating takeaways, making Daniel Jones look more like the Giants quarterback than he has been with Indianapolis. 6 takeaways, 5 sacks. First time Pittsburgh has done that in a game since 1981. Just a really dominant showing in every regard.
Yeah, I think you start with some of the adjustments this team made, and you start obviously with Ramsey playing predominantly free safety in this, and then you talk about Duggar, who did not arrive and have his first practice with the team until Thursday, and he ended up playing all but one snap. And Mike Tomlin said after the game they gave him a game ball for coming in and helping the way he did on such a short turnaround. In week 9, according to Next Gen Stats, the Steelers defense showed a significant shift in coverage tendencies using split safety coverage on a season high, 46.4% of dropbacks after entering the week with the second lowest split safety usage in the NFL of 28.2%. Jalen Ramsey aligned at safety on 83.6% of his snaps. The first time in his career he positioned at safety on over 30% of his snaps. Kyle Duggar played 72. They say 72 of 76. They probably count, I guess, the penalties and all in there in his Steelers debut, 97.3% of the snaps. But on non-penalty plays, I think it turned out to be like 71 of 72 or something along those lines there. So that, along with the fact that I believe the Steelers blitzed on just 25% of the Colts dropbacks in this game. We had said you're blitzing too much in this, and we saw that number come down a little bit. Now, when they did blitz, they had some significant plays, I think, in this. One of those obviously was Peyton Wilson coming off the edge, and Daniel Jones did the right thing, throwing into the side of the blitz. But Peyton Wilson had a good jump, a good leap, batted that thing down, volleyball style, and right into the hands of one Jack Sawyer. And so not only did you get a good bat down on that, you got a takeaway on top of that. But I think that's the main thing here is this team played a lot of split safety look in here. Now they would rotate, and all from maybe the original look and all, but they gave Daniel Jones a much different look than probably what he anticipated, and specifically with 2 players in Duggar and Ramsey that had not shown up on tape in the secondary prior to this one, the way that they did on Sunday there. So I think that I think that played a part. And look, the coverage behind, we talk about Russian coverage going hand in hand, and it really did in this one. Now, Daniel Jones, I thought, still made a couple of great throws, specifically in the first half of this, hitting some hole shots. You saw Alec Pierce get off to a pretty decent start on this, but a lot of stuff was seemingly until the second half was going kind of outside the numbers, if you will, and I thought the Steelers did a good job of tackling. You're kind of wondering in those first couple of drives there, same old Steelers defense, even though they were shutting down the run, they were still giving up some throws down the field, but they were able to make that stuff kind of decrease as the game went on there. But props to the coaching staff and the game plan for going more with the split safety look, and props to them on decreasing the blitz percentage here.
Took some pressure off those cornerbacks, had more support over the top, less one-on-one chances along the sideline for a vertical passing game. And why do teams play too high? Why has that become in vogue the last several years? Well, the Chiefs were tearing teams up with Tyreek Hill and their speed and their playmakers on the outside and these big video game-like numbers. So teams began playing too high, forced them underneath, and took away the splash plays. And that's what Pittsburgh did in this game. It's very much not their personality to do that kind of stuff, and their stubbornness has faulted them at times, but it was really good to see that adjustment, probably out of necessity and kind of a desperation. Ramsey playing safety out of safeties, and your just group really licking its wounds. But whatever you got to do to get to that point, I'm glad Pittsburgh got there. I want to focus on this game, Dave. Obviously, so much great to talk about, but what is the future of safety for the Chargers game and beyond? Is it going to be Ramsey and Duggar again? If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Elliott's not coming back anytime soon, if at all. Is this kind of the switch here for Ramsey to go from corner to safety? He played a really good game yesterday.
Yeah, he did. And you talk about a guy that can still hit, a guy that can still come downhill and hit that way, a guy that can still come down, hit down and play a little bit in cover up over the slot against a tight end or something along those lines as well too. It's very telling as far as the line, how short the line of safeties this team had, and the fact that Duggar comes in and only effectively has 2 practices with this team, that Juan Thornhill played 0 defensive snaps in this. So that's
That fixing the glitch?
yeah, yeah. Short answer is yeah, I mean, because Duggar's going to get more comfortable, you would think, moving forward in this, and Ramsey, look, Ramsey may have just tacked on 4 or 5 more years on his career if he shows that he can play free safety role moving forward here. Now we can have a talk about how much he's scheduled to make moving forward. We'll save that for another day there, but there, the communication overall. So you didn't see a lot of palms out, did you? In this one, it seemed like the communication worked okay. TJ Watt and several others talked about how they kind of simplified this defense, and then a few pre-snap things that I've looked at on all 22 look like Joey Porter Jr. specifically of who they're going to get out of bunches and all like that seemed like that was passed off pretty well as well too. So it wasn't perfect by any stretch of imagination, but as long as these guys stay healthy, I do think that you consider using Ramsey. Look, more than anything, you've given some opposing offenses something to think about going into games right now, because they're going to teams like the Chargers are going to be guessing too. Is this going to be is Ramsey at free safety the new norm along with Duggar, or was that a one-off? But if it is not broke, don't fix it. And we certainly saw good results. And Daniel Jones looked really kind of uncomfortable. Look, his time, his. I was curious to see what his time to throw time would be in this game, and we had went over the ones. I finally found the post of what he had done leading up to this game. Here it is by game with him: 2.52, 2.76, 2.81, 2.82, 2.55. In his last 3 games, 2.91, 2.88, and 2.89. So, the last 3 games, he's held on to the football a little bit. Now, they obviously had a good running game in those last several games to go along with that. But, the MO on the Steelers defense was to get the ball out quicker, and he did overall. It was 2.65, but the times when he did hold the football, now I don't have these broken down by drop back, but it seemed like times that he probably did hold that football longer than 2.65 seconds didn't go well for him overall. And in some other times when he did try to get the ball out, you had guys like Peyton Wilson coming off the edge, swatting that thing down. You had a quick sack, I think, by Highsmith on one of those. T.J. Watt coming off the edge on another one. I'd be interested to see what the time to throw or time to sack was on that one there. But they just seemed to make Daniel Jones a lot more uncomfortable, especially after that first possession of his as the game went on.
Well, one reason why that snap to throw time was lower was play action was not an asset to the Colts. I'm sure play action is one reason why he had some higher snap to throw times. You're taking more time, let the play develop, get the play fake off. That stuff adds time. And without a run game and playing from behind and staying off schedule, they couldn't utilize that stuff. They couldn't utilize the window dressing and the throwback screens and all kind of the tinsel you like to talk about to fool the eyes of the defense. They really had to play a simplified, more drop back kind of a game. He threw 50 times. In this one, he had not thrown more than 34 times in a game all season. Hadn't thrown that many pass attempts since 2021 with New York. And so he played a game that was very much different than the other ones they had played so far this season. And so that's probably why that ball came out a bit quicker, because they're trying to get back on schedule and they could not utilize some of the things like play action they'd leaned on so much to great success throughout this season. When it comes to Ramsey, there's kind of some push-pulls because your cornerback still have to step up. If Ramsey's not going to play corner, you paid him this kind of money. You know he's an alpha mentality who you like, in theory, on some of these top receivers. You're going to get back Chuck Clark and Jabril Pepper soon enough, but neither of them are great free safeties. Neither of them are better than Jalen Ramsey. So I don't know. I like the look of Ramsey and Duggar at safety, Dave, going forward.
I do as well too. And one thing that stuck out going through the all 22. Now they still used some motion in this game on offense, but you didn't see it. Didn't feel like you saw the volume, and specifically with a guy like Josh Downs. Remember how much like of that orbit motion, and then also with Jonathan Taylor, kind of those arrow type out of the backfield type motions. You just did not see the volume with that motion that you saw on tape leading into this game. And once again, they did a great job of stopping the run early. Now there were times I think in the second half where Jonathan Taylor looked like he was starting to get his legs up underneath him, getting 7, 8, 9 yards a run. But once again, the Steelers defense forcing negative plays stopped those drives in their tracks.
Yeah, the TJ Watt strip sack fumble was so key. That was what that 14-play drive that was a really like death by 1,000 paper cut drive where I think after like play 10, the Colts were still in their own territory, but they were finally getting some traction. And then for Watt to create that takeaway himself in a vintage Watt moment was massive, an obvious turning point. I think Mike Tomlin talked about that was play of the game after the game ended. So no question about that. But yeah, Pittsburgh did some different wrinkles, even though they kind of simplified things per my charting, which I have not finalized yet, but I've charted the game on paper at least. They played this 2-5 look against 12 personnel with 2 defensive linemen and 5 linebackers on the field, a third inside linebacker. So Queen, Wilson, and Malik Harrison, and I don't have the exact numbers on its success, but it looked to be pretty effective. And so a couple different wrinkles in this game to deal with the run game, to deal with some of the bigger people the Colts like to employ, and it seemed to work well.
Yeah, a couple of times you see those linebacker, kind of a stack almost look at times. Really, and at those times it made it real tough to run against, even though you probably had 2 safeties back at the time.
Right, exactly. So just even though in some sense TJ Watt talked about it being a simplified game plan and playing some more too high shell, I think Pittsburgh, they probably played some too high out of that 2-5 look. You're kind of the best of both worlds because you play too high, you wonder, okay, can you stop the run? Your safety's not coming down to fill the alley as effectively. So I got to watch the tape and kind of go through the game. But I imagine you played some of that too high look out of that 2-5 grouping to kind of get the best of both worlds, being able to play the run and play your too high look and coverage.
Yeah. So, obviously a couple of uncharacteristic interceptions by Daniel Jones, the one by Peyton Wilson. Give TJ Watt a little bit of an assist on that one, because the way he rushes and the path that he takes, and then he gives the running back a little bit of knocks him off kilter coming out, and in doing so that allowed that threw off the timing of that whole play, and allowed Peyton Wilson to kind of look at Daniel Jones' eyes and his responsibility to get out to the flat to cover the running back. Being out, the running back was delayed, kind of getting out there, allowed Wilson to zero in on Daniel Jones' eyes, and Daniel threw it right in his breadbasket there. So give a slight assist to TJ Watt on that one.
Sure. We had that conversation, funny enough, just on Friday about like doing your job versus kind of going a little beyond and coloring outside the lines. And Wilson I thought did both really well in that play. Pittsburgh's in man coverage. Wilson has the back, Jonathan Taylor, but because Taylor was a slow check release and chipping Watt coming out, Wilson kind of had a little latitude to fall off the route, get his eyes over to Daniel Jones, who's trying to hit downs on the pivot route. Jones thinks it's open because he expects Wilson to kind of expand out wide and cover the running back, and he's got one-on-one coverage, but Wilson sort of falls off the route and stays at home, and Jones throws it right to him. So it looks really bad from Jones' perspective, but I know what he was thinking on that play. Never expected Wilson to be there because he wasn't supposed to be,
Right.
but Wilson was able to make a great play. So again, it's kind of it's a line to walk because you got to do your job, but Wilson kind of took the educated guess of, I'm going to kind of, he didn't ignore the running back, but he kind of knew he had some time to wait and kind of watch the quarterback and made the play. So, man, what a career day for Peyton Wilson.
Yeah, they seemed the linebackers seemed a lot more zone aware, and there were a couple times looked like they specifically were going to try to clamp down on Josh Downs too. I think you'll maybe see some of that on the all 22 with the safety coming down and having a linebacker, I think, underneath there. So look, once again, I thought Daniel Jones, there were a couple of hole shots early in this, some great throws. You kind of wondering, man, is this going to be a game where Alec Pierce ends up tearing you up? But they made some adjustments that they went along. Peyton Wilson was just all over the place in this game. How many total tackles did he have? 12 or 13?
14 per
14.
ESPN, a career high in the NFL.
All right. He was all over the place in this one, making tackles. I thought up front against the run specifically, they were a lot more gap sound in this one and stuffing the lanes. And, that obviously played. I mean, when you hold a guy like Jonathan Taylor, who Mike Tomlin went out of his way, so look, this is a dynamic guy. This is a good running back here. 14 carries on 45 yards, and I guarantee half of those probably came in the second half on either the first or the second Colts drive there. They did it, and his long of the game was 9. If you tell me before the game you're holding Jonathan Taylor to 14 of 45 and a long of 9, I'm taking that every day. And the other running backs didn't have anything. Daniel Jones scrambled 3 times for 4 yards, so you did a good job, specifically in some times when he tried to escape the pocket there. And yeah, he a couple of those I think were quarterback sneaks, right? Both I think on
His touchdown.
Yeah, touchdown, and I think another one on either third and one on fourth down as well too. So those were two of his scrambles right there. And one other time when you had pressure and forced him out of the pocket, you got a Joey Porter sideline sack, if you will, there as one of the 5 that they had in this game. So
and the other was that he tried to escape, and Herbeck actually forced the fumble, and the Colts recovered it.
Right.
But that was another great play by Herbeck to constrain the pocket.
Right. So good to see you. How many times did we see the 3 out Herbig, Highsmith, and Watt on the field in this game?
I don't have it totaled up because I don't have it in my computer yet, but a lot, which is very much a Browns game vibe. You're playing with a lead late in this one. You could deploy that package, and so it was used probably a third of the time if you total things up by game's end in this game. And it was also Sawyer getting involved. They rotated some people, so heavily lean on that package because you could in the game circumstance of playing with a late lead.
Obviously, a couple of pass interference calls on Joey Porter Jr. that you didn't like to see, but I think on it, was it the next play on each he had pass breakups or pretty damn close to it?
That's a good question.
Seemed like he rebounded from those calls quickly. One, I think, was the very next play, and I'm trying to remember if the one of the other ones was on the very next play. It didn't come soon after that, I'll tell you that. So at least the negativity on him, he quickly turned around there. I thought James Pierre on that one that they originally ruled a catch and then quickly assisted review. Got the call right. James Pierre did a good job of playing a part in that ball hitting the ground on that one. So it was good to see him when he got into the game impacted there. But I mean, yeah, Peyton Wilson was all over the place. 13 total tackles, interception, the bat down that Jack Sawyer got as an interception was huge in this game. Alex Highsmith was nice off the edge. TJ Watt, couple of negative plays, obviously one being the trifecta with the sack, strip, and recovery. I thought Benton played a nice game overall. Cam Hayward had another nice game. You only see him with 4 assisted tackles in this, but yeah, you really turn on the tape and you see it. Had a couple of pass breakdowns, even though that drive ended up, I think, in a touchdown early in the game there. Some of the push and the rush that he had was impactful, getting in Daniel Jones' face in this game as well too. So top to bottom defensively, not a lot not to like. Obviously once again to Joey Porter Jr. A couple of penalties there, but he had the later interception, and that's been a long time coming, and couldn't have been timed at a better time there as well.
I'm really excited to watch the Hayward All 22. That should be a treat. Just felt like a very classic Hayward game. Clamps Hayward, the 2 pass deflections on the opening drive, like you said, unfortunately still ended in a touchdown, but those are plays Hayward makes, a few others do. You're right. Porter had a breakup after the first DPI, right after the second one. It was a couple plays after he had the breakup, but same principle overall. So he showed a good short-term memory. The number that sticks out for me in this game, Dave, 13. That's the number of pass deflections Pittsburgh had in this game. And it wasn't just from the DBs, although Porter led the team with 4. Peyton Wilson had 2. Jack Sawyer had 1. Hayward, just mentioned, had 2. Highsmith had 1. Even though that was dropping into coverage, it wasn't at the line. So, one thing Pittsburgh talked about was to defeat this quick passing game, got to get your hands up, got to disrupt throwing lanes. And Hayward did that. Wilson did that on a blitz where the ball's trying to come out, hot left side. So you kind of felt that throughout the game, Pittsburgh getting their hands up. And yes, I know there are some naysayers and detractors that say, 6 takeaways, that's not sustainable. You're not going to do that and win every game that way. And of course, you're not going to get 6 takeaways every single week. But turnovers are no accident. It's a culture thing. They're taught, they're practiced, and Pittsburgh has really put a big emphasis on that over the years. And it's never a surprise to me when they have these kinds of big, gaudy takeaway games like this, because it is truly part of who this defense is. And it's, to me, so important. I think you're a defense that can't create splash. You're a defense that can't win in the modern NFL. Teams are going to get yards. They're going to move the ball. It's just how the NFL works these days. Your counter to that defensively is splash plays, steal possession, shorten fields, create those splash. Offenses are going to get their big plays. Defenses have to get their big plays too. You can't just force everyone to punt and 3 and outs. And so I think it's a feature, not a bug of the Steelers defense. Again, you're not going to get 6 takeaways every single game, but Pittsburgh, I think, leads the NFL in takeaways, or at least it's right on up there. They have 2 games of 5+ takeaways this season. So it is the formula to win.
Yeah, and once again, a lot of these were timely when it looked like the Colts were starting to get some traction. These came at opportune times of the game and just stopped drives in their tracks.
Yeah, Pittsburgh actually second in takeaways with 16, behind the Bears with 19. Well, I would not have guessed the Bears would be leading the way with 19. Pittsburgh will see them later this season, but still, that's really good overall. It's really important to be strong in turnover differential. Pittsburgh have been slipping the last couple weeks. That 13-quarter drought with takeaways was certainly a sore spot. Now they're +9 in turnover differential. That is second in the NFL, also behind the Bears at +13. So, yeah, turnovers is taught, and Pittsburgh certainly showed it on Sunday.
Yeah, Malik Harrison, good to see him back. I thought he played a pretty decent game overall. Skowronek, not Skowronek. Pierre had to get in there for a little bit, and he was even credited with a pass defense. I imagine that was the one on the on the one that was reviewed and originally ruled a completion there. As you mentioned, Joey Porter Jr. 4 passes defense, Peyton Wilson 2. One of those obviously ended up in the arms of Jack Sawyer. Defense really complemented each other with the Russian coverage, and and it paid dividends for sure.
Just looking at it, not to go down a rabbit hole, but only 12 teams have a positive turnover differential number this season. That's not a lot. Usually it's closer to about half the league. And Pittsburgh, of course, near the top of that list. And the Colts are +3 despite having all those those turnovers and giveaways yesterday. The Colts came into this game with 4 turnovers the entire season, 4 giveaways. 3 of those coming in the Rams game, had only 1 in their last 4 games. And they had 6 yesterday. I think the graphic on CBS showed last time the Colts gave the ball away 6 times in the game was 2007. So, I mean, Pittsburgh really took it to them and really just kind of forced Daniel Jones to kind of show what kind of quarterback he was. It kind of shows me, Jordan Love versus Daniel Jones. Love had no run game against the Steelers last week. He has a great game. Jones has no run game against Pittsburgh, and he really struggles. And so when you isolate these quarterbacks, you can kind of see them in a vacuum. Okay, whenever it's all on them, when there is no run game, when there is no staying on schedule, how good are you? You certainly saw Love rise up, and you saw Jones falter.
Absolutely.
Any other thoughts here defensively? I mean, it was just a really strong game. I mean, there were some things to nitpick early in this game. You had James Pierre rush on late for a goal line snap. You had some miscommunication. Pittsburgh still struggling with some of their stacks. That last touchdown to Downs, you had a stack there, and there was miscommunication on who was going to take Downs to the flat, and easy touchdown there for the Colts. You had some weird personnel stuff where Pittsburgh was in nickel against 12 personnel in some short yardage situations. There was 1 4th down conversion. The Colts had, I think, one of the quarterback sneaks where they're in 12 personnel. Pittsburgh's in nickel for some reason, even though the Colts changed personnel, which meant Pittsburgh could respond and wouldn't have time to change personnel. On that first touchdown, you had no one in the A-gap bubble, and so it was easy for Jones to sneak over. So, 5-5 on 4th down. Only the 2016 Browns have ever done that to Pittsburgh over the last 30 years in converting 5 4th downs in one game. So you had some things to clean up there. But by and large, this defense played a really strong game.
Yeah, gave up at least one early 3rd and long that I had circled on there. One thing that stuck out early on the tape too was one of those passes over to, I think it was Alec Pierce on the right side, where he breaks loose and starts running. Peyton Wilson comes a long way to make that tackle to hawk that down. So we've seen that multiple times with Peyton Wilson. I thought Harmon did a good job of chasing down one from behind. You see a lot of effort chasing down stuff from behind in this game as well too. And once again, 88 yards is what I have on the raw charting so far as yards after the catch. And when you talk about 31 or 32 completions there, they did I mean, well, what did we talk about in the game against the Packers? All those yards after the catch there. So they did a much better job of tackling catch. There were some missed tackles in this one. I think maybe 9 in total, but they obviously weren't as catastrophic as we saw in that game against the Packers.
Yeah, guys were ball aware. TJ Watt following the ball to finish his strip sack fumble. He's got 35 forced fumbles in his career, Dave. No one else over that span since he entered the NFL in 2017 had more than 25 in a game. So, I mean, he's lapping the field, still making those. We talked about, like, Watt looked like the same guy even during this drought. I mean, he did not seem like a worse player. Just the chances just weren't there, just not finishing, just not making the play. And he made the plays. And Derek Harmon recovering the fumble from Alex Highsmith. So all of that was really good. Yeah, some cover 2 stuff, allowed in this game. Again, teams are going to move the football. Colts offense is going to move the football. You got to counter that with the big plays. You get 5 sacks and 6 takeaways. Those are the big plays you need to win the game.
Absolutely.
Still mad the Colts outsnapped the Steelers, though. I don't know how you get outsnapped when you have 5 sacks and 6 takeaways, and they still have not won the snap count battle once this year, officially, according to ESPN. I know numbers get a little weird based on penalties and who's counting what, but 74-61, Colts won. Time of possession, again, blows my mind how that happens with 6 turnovers, but obviously some not garbage time, but late game stuff where the Steelers were kind of letting the Colts go on some drives.
Yeah, the offense certainly didn't help things out. Short fields played a part in that, but they weren't if not for that's why the defense really helped out the offense on this, because once again, the Steelers had 24 points off of turnovers in this game, and the Steelers' longest possession, they had 2 possessions, I think, of 12 plays were their longest possessions. One of those coming off of the takeaway by T.J. Watt, and the other one they really needed to close out the half the way that they did, burning up all the clock in the process there because the Colts came out getting the second half kickoff there, but. The Steelers offense really, and I guess we'll segue into it, really clunky afternoon overall. But I thought by the Steelers offense, they did at least finish several of these drives after takeaways with touchdowns, so a plus there. They never really could get the running game going. Look, the Steelers did not have an explosive play of 20 yards or longer in this game, and they only had one run more than 10 yards in this game as well too. Aaron Rodgers, I think he had the quickest time snap to throw time on the season in this one, and his average depth of target and average depth of completion was very low as well too. So fortunately they were provided short fields to work on, and they did for the most part capitalize on those. But the offense definitely, and Aaron Rodgers said this after a game as well too, they weren't as crisp as they needed to, and it's good to come out of this game with the win, with the and having the game tape to work on to go from it. But the running game really struggled to get any type of bearing. They couldn't produce any explosive plays. They couldn't throw the football down the field, but they still were able to put the ball in the end zone or through the uprights, and that mattered big time in this game.
I agree with you. I agree with Aaron Rodgers. The offense left a lot on the field, but 27 points. That is now a down game for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Remember, down games used to be 10 points, 13 points, couldn't throw for 100 yards. Like the definition of what a uninspiring, disappointing performance for this offense has, I think, really shown in a sense how far this offense has come. Now, yes, when you have 6 takeaways and short fields and those are great opportunities, you're going to score some points naturally, but still, 27 points and what is a kind of rough outing for this offense is a far cry from what this offense was just a year or two ago.
Yeah, absolutely. They still only averaged 3.7 yards per play in this one, but when you look at what was their red zone efficiency?
3 of 6.
3 of 6. Yeah, and look, I mean, you start early, you get the muff punt, you get the recovery there. You're thinking, all right, now punch this thing in, and they couldn't do it. Their first 3 drives went 3 and out, 3 and out. Technically another 3 and out, but they went for it on 4th down and obviously couldn't convert. And you're thinking, oh man, 3, 3, 4. But they kept hammering at it, and once again, putting the ball in the end zone, coming off of a couple of those takeaways was huge. I thought the best throw of the game that Aaron Rodgers had in this was the touchdown to Pat Freiermuth. Put that ball a little bit behind him where only he was going to catch it. I thought that was a great throw there. What can you say about Darnell Washington in this, and the contested catches and the tough catches and the hits that he made? Now, you didn't get off to a great start with him on that 4th down throw. That ball got on him quick. He wasn't expecting it, and obviously incomplete there, but that didn't get in his head. He had a lot of tough catches in this game, and impactful catches on top of it there. So I thought good game for him. Calvin Austin, a couple of nice catches in this one. The one where Freiermuth clears out, a couple of, like a double Dino almost, couple of quick posts where Austin's got the backside of the post there, quickly gets that and gets upfield, get it down low in the red zone there. I thought that was impactful. He had another one on a quick out over to the left side where it looks like that might only go for 1 or 2 yards, but he is able to turn that one into, I think, one of their longest gains of the day there, and move the chain. So
the longest. It was that 18-yarder. That was the longest
right.
play from scrimmage Pittsburgh had all day.
And where was that completed at? Right at the line of scrimmage or close to it?
Yeah, it was a little arrow route.
Right. So, good game by he's a tough SOB. You know it. For a little guy, takes a lot of hits. But yeah, nice game from him. Nice game from Darnell Washington. Uh, the opening play design to Johnny Smith was great. Just catch the damn football, right?
Mhm. Yeah, it was wide open. It was great play action, a little 7 route from Smith, and the ball just hit off his hands, and Washington missed a couple, had one contested red zone play. I thought Kenny Moore made a really good play to help break that up, but then the 4th down, ball comes out hot because the blitz is on. Washington has to make that play, know that you're hot, know the Colts might be sending blitz and get your head around, and he didn't. But as you said, Washington stayed mentally tough, stayed in the fight, made some big plays in the second half, and Rodgers showed the trust and confidence to go back to him. A lot of quarterbacks would shy away from your guy that made those or did not make those plays in crucial situations early in the game. But Rodgers went back to him, and Washington ended the game on a high note. And yeah, that touchdown to Frymouth is vintage Rodgers. Great placement, only where your guy can make it. Nice snag by Frymouth too. But Rodgers, I thought he had a really good game. The numbers may not show it. 203 yards, only one touchdown, sacked 3 times. But this is one of his better games of the season. Just in total command, total control. Should have had a second touchdown to Washington if he made one of those plays. Just thought he handled the game really, really well.
Yeah, let me look at real quick and get the exact stats on his time to throw and all the other stuff that went along with it here. I mean, he was getting the ball out quick, man.
You said 2.13?
2.14.
Okay. I think whatever you had posted on Twitter, I looked up, and the last time he had a quicker snap to throw time was week 7 of 2022 as a member of the Green Bay Packers.
All right, so that was obviously his. No surprise, he heads into Monday night with the quickest time to snap the throw time in the NFL for Week 9, and the second quickest is Tua in that game the other night, 2.26. So it's not even close there. His average completed air yard distance was 1.7 yards. His average intended air yard distance was 2.7. So obviously a lot of quick game by Aaron Rodgers in this one.
Yeah, some design swing screens to Kenneth Gainwell. They tried to run the one screen to Jalen Warren, which felt like it had potential in the second half. I think Jones fell off his block, and that one went nowhere. So yeah, the numbers may not look like much, but I just thought Rodgers was decisive, smart. Did he throw a bad ball the entire game? I can't think of like one bad ball that he had.
I
Maybe
think
he did.
Darnell bailed him out on one of those earlier ones, I think, with the ball behind him. But that just goes to show Darnell's
Yeah, that's true.
catch radius
True.
and all like that. So as far as true
Right. That's kind of what I
interceptable,
was thinking, like a bad ball that was a bad decision or almost picked off, or you kind of clenched up as he threw it. I don't think he had one.
I don't think he did either.
So I think it was a really good game against a Colts defense that had been playing well, not as
Mhm.
good as their offense, but a talented group that was getting healthier. They got back their corner in Jalen Jones. They had Grover Stewart, their D tackle in this game, so they were getting a little bit healthier on that side of the ball. In Pittsburgh, did not play great offensively, but finished some of those drives. Jalen Warren, his first 2 rushing touchdowns of the season, his first NFL multi-rushing touchdown game. So punched it in. He ran the tush push with Connor Hayward. He made some plays down in the red zone. Still not perfect. 3 of 6 is not where you want to be, but 3 red zone touchdowns will win you a lot of games.
Yeah, I thought offensive line, we especially the running game, we've seen it better. Obviously, they just weren't there weren't a lot of lanes there. It looked like Jalen Warren maybe slipped on a couple of those that looked like they could have gained a few more yards on that. Obviously, with the ball coming out as quick as it did overall, you weren't asking a lot from the pass protection. I thought Falatano did well on his side there at right tackle. I thought Frazier had a pretty good game overall there, and you just wish you would have had a better game from the offense. 17 total first downs, 4 of 12 on third down, 1 of 2 on fourth down, and in the red zone, 3 of 6.
But on a day where DK Metcalf had all of 2 catches for 6 yards to still again put up 27 points, I think speaks a lot to the hand in the pile mentality for this offense, everybody getting involved. And again, short field, 6 takeaways defensively will boost on any offense. But to do that when your run game wasn't working, when your number 1 receiver was quiet overall, had a drop or 2 Metcalf did in this game, was important. One negative in this game late in this one, Roman Wilson. And right before the trade deadline, Wilson did not leave the best lasting impression. Late in the game, Pittsburgh's up, 27-17, throw a little, smoke screen, kind of hot throw to Roman for an easy conversion. He hurdles. He hurdled. He did that part. He didn't do the ball security part. And you can't leave your feet there. You can't expose yourself. When you hurdle, you increase the risk of fumbles. He did that earlier this year. Colts recover. Luckily, Joey Porter Jr. got the ball back like 3 plays later,
Right.
but that's a play there for Wilson. Just can't happen.
Yeah, you got to know what the situation is on
Mhm.
that. Is it worth the risk and all doing?
Because you don't need the
that?
yards. Like, get the first down. You don't
Right.
need the 3 yards after. Who cares?
Right, right. I understand him trying to make a play there, but you got to
Mhm.
know the situation and all. Ben Skronik seemed to be pretty upset about that.
I was pretty upset.
Yeah, everybody was upset. Guy and JJ Watt just got done saying, you're trying to punch the ball out, trying to make anything happen here. And like 2 plays after he said that, they punched out, and that ended up being what? That ended up being your lone turnover of the game.
Right, that was the one giveaway that Pittsburgh had that gave the Colts brief life late, but again, Porter getting the ball back. Pittsburgh could not close out that game. You wish they could have had a 4-minute offense drive that would have killed the
Right.
whole clock here, and you gave Colts 2 drives late in the contest, which is far from ideal. Another offensive demerit in this game. I thought the O-line did a nice job. The run game was tough. I thought Fautanu had a couple good pulls on dart schemes and pass protection. I know Rodgers did get the ball out quickly, but not a lot of pressure. I mean, there were a couple sacks. Rodgers took the one late, which is kind of, I think you take the sack unless something's wide open just to run the clock. So it's kind of really not on the offensive line. I think Rodgers said he stepped into a sack earlier in the game, too. I thought the group did a nice job.
As far as play calling went, I thought okay overall. I kind of questioned the 3rd and 4 run, I think, especially if you're not going to go for it on 4th down. I think it ended up being like a 4th and 2 situation.
Yeah, it was an RPO. I mean, I think there
Right.
were some moments, even on the goal line, there was some hand-wringing about a 2nd and goal pass to DK Metcalf. That's an option play for Rodgers. So some of that's on Rodgers deciding what the play should actually look like.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, the play calling scene, I got to watch the tape, but it seemed okay. Just guys didn't make the plays. If guys would have made the plays, if Jonnu Smith catches that ball in the first play of the game, if Darnell Washington catches the ball in 4th and goal, if Roman Wilson doesn't fumble, if some of those things individually get changed, then you're scoring, as Rodgers said post-game, 35, 42 points, and this one's a laugher.
And I think you had, as far as penalties go on the offense, I know you had the Calvin Austin false start. I think that was in the end, near the end of the first half, wasn't it? You had a miscommunication that caused you to burn a timeout with Skowronek and Washington being lined up. I think an illegal formation. Skowronek saw it, was kind of motioning to Aaron on that, and Aaron just said, I need to take a timeout here. There was that. What was the other offensive penalties in this game?
I couldn't even tell you at the top of my head right now.
I know you had a couple of pass interference on Joey. You had the hit on Ramsey. That was one.
Were there other offensive penalties? Did they come on special teams or
I
something?
think there might have been some special teams ones.
I will try to look here
there.
through the game log really quickly on offense on Pittsburgh. Calvin Austin was called for a false start. That might be
Right.
one you're thinking of. And I think that was the only one that Pittsburgh incurred offensively. What was I going to say? I had one more thought here offensively, and I just lost it. But any other thoughts here on the offense? Oh, yeah, the one play DK Metcalf made, maybe his best play, was the one he didn't make after getting that, unnecessary roughness penalty and the fine last week. He gets late second half, and it's an RPO play. I think they had run the ball in that one, and you get this kind of scrum here between the Colts and Metcalf. And you see Metcalf did not respond, did not engage, put his arms down, was kind of backing up. He drew the penalty. I know Austin was kind of also in that scrum. I don't know exactly who agitated who on that play, but you played clean, you played smart, you didn't do the dumb things in this one. Colts didn't do a lot of dumb stuff, but that was a dumb play. They got Pittsburgh 15 yards
Yeah.
before the half.
Yeah. I think Broderick Jones was coming up behind, worried about him getting into it as well too, and he did. Yeah, a couple of unfortunate, untimely penalties by the Colts as well in this game certainly hurt them.
Right. I mean, I know Pittsburgh, I think, was penalized more technically in aggregate, but some costly ones by the Colts. The end of the half. I mean, did you like the end of the half there? I know Pittsburgh's trying to drain clock, so the Colts offense has no chance to get back on the field, and the Colts were getting the ball to start the second half. I don't know. Could you do it over? Would you have done it differently? Probably, but I didn't think it was like egregiously bad by Tomlin to run down the clock in that situation.
No, especially too it late when that Calvin Austin. Because I was thinking to myself, all right, you got one shot to throw it into the end zone or just short of the end zone if you know that you can get some yak. And about as soon as I tweeted that, I think Calvin Austin had the false start in that. So, and then after that, they were playing that picket fence defense, and I think that's when they can hit Calvin Austin over to the side just to get a few extra yards and him get out of bounds, so you could kick the field goal there. The big thing is you did not give them. You got points, and you did not give them the ball back with any time left on the clock for an opportunity to go double of some sort of situation, because the Colts got the ball first in the second half.
Right. Pittsburgh got the ball there and kept the ball late and got points late in the half, and that was big. Just one other maybe small critique. I'm trying to find exactly when this was. I thought Rodgers did have not a bad ball in terms of almost intercepted, but one misfire to Calvin Austin. He made a really nice catch. That was on 3rd and 10 over the middle, where I think Rodgers had some pressure, but the ball a little out in front. If he's able to hit Austin in stride, that's probably a touchdown there. Now, Pittsburgh did score and find the end zone later on that drive, but I thought Austin made some good plays, and so I was happy with his performance.
Yeah, that's what I said at the top. I thought him and Darnell Washington made some key plays in this one.
Yeah. All right, special teams, Dave. Chris
All
Boswell
right.
continuing to do his thing. Corliss Waitman, man, great game. I meant to check this earlier. 5 punts of 50-yard gross average. Is that a record for Pittsburgh? It's probably not a record, but it's really good overall. Get the first takeaway, from the muff there by Downs at Eccles, who's not played gunner this year. Schematic was moved to personal protector as a third-string PP after Killebrew and Peppers have had their injuries. So a lot of hands in the pile there, and a lot of love on the broadcast for Danny Smith and the gum chewing.
Yeah, and I'm glad they explained that out, because I was thinking, what the heck just happened there? And Danny Smith's all excited about Boswell kicking that ball. Explain that big brain moment by Danny Smith there.
Yeah, I was confused too initially, but you come to find out this was a really 4D chess
Gene
move.
Steratore was even confused.
Right. So this was after Pittsburgh went up, 24-7. The Colts had a personal foul penalty on Boswell's extra point. Pittsburgh assessed it on the kickoff, and so they're kicking off from midfield, which is kind of a tough spot to be in, because you don't want the touchback there that comes out to the 35-yard line. You can't just kick the ball in the air, because your coverage guys can't move until the ball either hits the ground or is fielded, caught by a returner. And so what you do is you kick the ball out of bounds intentionally, because NFL rules state if you kick the ball out of the bounds on a kickoff, it's 25 yards from the spot of the kickoff. That's why the ball comes out to the 40 normally. But in this situation, you're kicking off from midfield, so the ball comes out to the 25, which is great field position in today's NFL, where most touchbacks come out to the 35-yard line. So that was an intentional act to kick it out of bounds, to eliminate no chance of a return, and to force them to start from the 25-yard line. The Texans did this last year in a game against Green Bay in a similar situation. So it's a rare moment. It's a quirky moment, but a really fun one. And yeah, it's not often you see a special teams coordinator excited about a kickoff out of bounds, but the right call here from Pittsburgh.
Yeah, definitely intentional all the way around from the moment you probably decide to take that penalty as well too. So a little bit of a loophole in the kickoff rules there, and Danny Smith went right to it, and Chris Boswell. Now look, the ball still has to land or be in within the landing zone, right?
No, you kick it out. You kick it in the fourth row. I mean, that's what Boswell did.
If he would have just turned around and kicked that ball sideways and out of bounds.
It has to land in the landing zone.
That's what I'm saying. It has to at least go out of bounds inside the landing zone, right?
Well, they can just go straight out of bounds. As long as it doesn't touch before the landing zone, then you're good. You can kick it
Okay.
in the air. That's what Boswell did. It went in the air. I don't think it ever hit the ground in the
Right.
landing zone. It just went straight to the left out of bounds. If you kick it short and it doesn't land in the landing zone, I think it does come out to the 40 at that point. One strategy is
what I'm getting about is if he just would have turned sideways and kicked the ball straight out of bounds, does the ball at least have to fly in the air through the landing zone?
Yeah, you're saying if he literally turned sideways and kicked
Right.
it to his own sideline at midfield.
Right.
Yeah, I think it's 25 yards or where the ball goes out of bounds. So you have to kick it past the 25-yard line. If
Okay.
you kicked it out at, say, the 40-yard line, then it comes out to the 40 because that's where the ball went out of bounds at. So, okay, you can't do anything
Okay.
crazy like that, but you
I
can
didn't
still
think
boot
so.
it out of bounds into the fourth row, which is what Boswell did.
Okay, good.
Some teams will try to still kick it in the landing zone there and then try to force the return. But then you're risking kicking it short and then losing all that field position you're gaining. So that good strategy from Danny Smith. But even beyond that quirky moment, the kick coverage team has been excellent. Doesn't get talked about enough, Dave. You lose some guys, you lose Killebrew on that unit. I mean, the Colts had 4 running backs, 25-yard average, longer 27. You were consistently putting those guys, not even at the 35, but at the 30, the 25-yard line. The coverage unit was really, really good in this one. Waitman was really good as a punter. Keyshawn Williams, some good returns in the kick and punt game. Just really strong on special teams.
Ben Skowronek's an animal on special teams. He really is. He really is. Yeah, one real thumping tackle in this and 2 assists in this game as well too. And you elevated Trey Sermon and Lou Nichols, and each one of them had an assist on special teams tackles.
Right. It was just a lot of fun, and Nichols making his NFL debut, so good for him. Also, you recovered 2 onside kicks, which, granted, you're going to do that 90% of the time, the numbers show, but the Bengals recovered an onside kick in that crazy game against Chicago. To have 2 of them, you never know what could happen there. I think Hayward had the one, and Metcalf had the other. They were different varieties. One was a low liner, one was a sky kick in the air, so your hands team did a great job to help close out that win.
Danny Smith gets the most TV airtime of any special teams coordinator around the league, right? Easily.
As he should. I want a Danny Smith cam the entire time, and I think Ian Eagle and J.J. Watt would agree.
Yeah, and what a great job those guys did once again. They're so they're educational and they're entertaining too. So it was good to see them call another game.
Yeah, vibes were high. You had the Super Bowl XL, Super Bowl 40 team in the house yesterday, and hey, Pittsburgh played for those guys, and they talked about kind of, having them as a boost and motivation. Some really cool stuff at halftime. Those guys being honored, from Ben and Jerome Bettis to Dick LeBeau. Man, how good does Dick LeBeau still look? I mean, he still looks sharp as a tack, and just, man,
you see him in the back.
Joy.
You see him in the background in the press box behind Joey Porter when Joey Porter's cheering on the interception of Junior there. If you look closely, you see Dick LeBeau sitting right behind in the press box there.
Yeah, smiling ear to ear. So really fun stuff. But yeah, it's really cool that Pittsburgh does that, to bring those guys together. Not just the stars, but everybody that could have made it. Barrett Brooks, Chidi Iwoma was there. Of course, he works for the team, but that was really cool.
Only you knew that.
I was cheered at home whenever I saw that. Troy wasn't there though. I wonder what happened with that. And he had a schedule conflict. Troy Polamalu was not part of the group yesterday.
And obviously, Hines Ward had coaching duties, as did Antoine Randall.
Right, that's true. Yeah, Ward's still at Arizona State, and Randall in Detroit, right? No, Chicago. Where'd Randall go? Is he in Chicago now, or Detroit? He was in Detroit. Did he get hired by Ben Johnson?
I don't remember. He's at one of the two, though.
He is in Chicago, receivers coach. So he did follow Ben Johnson. He'll come. No, they're going to Chicago, right, for the Bears game? Or Chicago coming to Pittsburgh?
I don't know.
Let's see. They're going to Chicago. So Pittsburgh will go there in a couple weeks from now, and they'll see Randall then. All right, Dave, any other thoughts here from this game?
All right, snap counts. Let's see here. TJ Watt, 59. I'm looking at the wrong one here. Let me find the snap counts from this game here. Peyton Wilson, 66 of 78 snaps on defense for him. Kyle Duggar, 77 of 78. Ramsey, Queen, and Porter played every snap. Watt, 61. Eccles had 56 in this game. Highsmith 48, Herbig 40 in this one.
How many Sawyer have?
Sawyer had 20.
Yeah, a lot of three-outside linebacker package and some rotations as well. Yeah, Duggar, I forget if I mentioned that one snap he didn't play was a goal line snap where they had only one safety on the field. So that was his lone snap off. But yeah, what more can you say about 3 days practice? You just get here. Yeah, maybe not have been a gaudy game, but like you played smart, you played clean, you played disciplined, facing the number one offense in football. So good in so many areas. Man, that is so hard to do, to catch that moving train, and you should be given immense credit to Duggar for stepping up and stepping in.
One other quick shout out, I think Dirt deserves recognition in on offense there. Kenneth Gainwell made the most out of some of his receiving snaps in this game. 4 catches for 35 yards. So he was the third leading receiver in this game behind Calvin Austin, Washington, and Gainwell was third with 35 yards.
And his second in receptions on the season, only 2 behind DK Metcalf. So who would have? We knew he'd be involved in the pass game, and he even drew a face mask on that one on the flat. So I got you 15 yards on that play. So yeah, good showing. Any other snap count stuff that I'm looking at here?
Darnell
Keyshawn
Washington led the tight ends in this one. Roman Wilson had 29 snaps in this one. Fryermuth 29, Johnny Smith 25, Gainwell 23 in this one. Spencer Anderson, who came in and had to fill in at left guard, 21 in additional to the big jumbo stuff that he used them in. Caleb Johnson on the field for 5 snaps. I think he had 1 carry and 1 catch over to the right side.
It's a nice catch in stride. Yeah, it was good to see him on the field. He hadn't played in the last 2 games. He addressed, but he hadn't played. So good to get him warmed up a little bit.
Right.
And how about defensively? Asazio Tomewa, 9 snaps. They really hadn't been using that last defensive lineman. He would get 1-2 snaps a game. He got some of that 3 outside linebacker package stuff. He got some specialty work in those packages. Played some base end in this game. So Otomewa getting a little bit of burn.
All right.
All right, Dave, where to from here? One thing we should talk about, we didn't mention in our very long pre-production meeting, was trade deadline is tomorrow, 4 p.m. Eastern time. Is Pittsburgh going to make a move?
I tell you, if you believe all the smoke that's out there right now, they will, and they will for a wide receiver if you believe that as well, too. We'll see. Look, you see what happened to Washington last night. Very unfortunate injury for Jaden Daniels with the dislocated elbow, and then they lost a cornerback, who Lattimore, I think they lost. That's a team going in the wrong direction there. I did wonder late last night about Deebo Samuel, and as everybody probably drives off the road at this point, Deebo Samuel, that contract's movable, very movable for him. His contract voids after this year. He's got a low base salary that's obviously split in half at this point from the time gone. Might the Commanders be interested in just moving Deebo Samuel along at this point? Remember, the Steelers supposedly had interest in Deebo Samuel a couple of off seasons ago before he was ultimately traded to Washington. Good yards after the catch guy, a guy that can give you carries even out of the backfield if you ran into that situation there. I think he might be a little bit, I'm not calling for it to happen, mind you. I'm just throwing out another name because obviously you got the Raiders wide receiver. Who else is being talked about?
The Saints receivers.
Yeah, we'll see what happens there. That obviously would make some sense for one of those 2 guys over there in Olave, being one of them. I think that you could look at that. I don't think the Steelers are going to be in line for Waddle. It looks good on paper. I just wonder if the what you'd have to give up in a trade to get him, it would be something that the Steelers do there. It's plausible, and if you believe all the smoke out there, the Steelers are making calls. I mean, it wouldn't shock me. I do wonder, with the way this offense runs, the way the ball comes out so quick, the shorter, crisp passing game, overall, I do wonder how impactful such a player would be.
Yeah, I don't think it's still necessary. I think Roman Wilson has still been playing better ball. The fumble was costly and not going to endear himself well to the coaching staff, but I've been a big fan of what Calvin Austin has done this year. The tight ends, the offense is moving the ball, they're scoring. I don't know if the receiver's going to come in and offer what Pittsburgh thinks it might or what it might look like on paper. And these price tags seem pretty high. You had Jalen Phillips get traded for a third round pick. I think he's on an expiring contract, I think. So it's a hefty price to pay if that's the price tag for some of these receivers. I don't know, Dave. That's pretty. I know Pittsburgh's got a couple threes next year, but it's a high price to pay. I'm watching the Raiders though, obviously with Jacoby Myers.
Right.
They lost that heartbreaker in overtime to Jacksonville. I think if they had won that game, they might be able to squint and convince themselves maybe we can still make a run for a playoff spot. The Chiefs lost to Buffalo. The division was still kind of maybe sort of semi there for the taking, but they got to be in
He
sell
wants
mode.
out of there too.
Yeah, since the season began, and I don't see the value in keeping him. I mean, I don't know why you would hold on to him in a lost season. He's gone after the season, and you're probably going to be active in free agency, so you probably will lose that comp pick value. Probably get canceled out in free agent pickups that you make. So that's a name I'm watching in terms of what could happen. We'll see Shaheed down with the Saints. There's been conflicting reports on Calvin Ridley, and is he available or not? Some say yes, some say no. I don't know which way this one's going to go. Like you said, a lot of smoke. I'm not really in support of a receiver, but we'll find out here soon.
Yeah, I think I think the Raiders are definitely trading him for sure.
What is the price, though, I wonder, for Jacoby Myers? If it's a 3, which I think is the report, and which I think is some posturing from the Raiders, they
Sure.
want to try to hold some leverage, but I'm not trading a third round pick for
No.
half the season of Jacoby Myers.
No. And you got to think they're trading him. I'll be shocked if he's not traded. I
Mhm.
think it all comes into compensation. Let me ask you point blank, if you could get Deebo Samuel for a swap of say a fifth for a six or something like that, would you do that?
No, I wouldn't. I don't know how much is left in this tank, and I think can't have to manufacture his touches in this offense. Spreads the ball around so much. I don't want to spend energy trying to manufacture 3-yard swing passes for Debo Samuel. I mean, I get the thought and some of the short passing game and run after stuff Pittsburgh has done, but I'm just not. I'm not super crazy about Debo. I loved him coming out of South Carolina. Like it was a dude, but I just think a lot of wear and tear, and it just does not seem like the same guy.
I mean, he's definitely not a guy that you're bringing in to play 40 or 50 snaps, but for the price tag, and if you could get him for like say a swap of a fifth or a six, I mean, you could manufacture some touches for him, and he's so good after the catch still.
Has he been that great after the catch this year? What are his numbers? Yeah, he's got some decent yak. I don't know. I mean, it's down compared to it's actually career low in yak after the catch, but I don't know how that offense is functioning and how it's different than what Shanahan was doing. I just I get the idea. I like Calvin Austin.
I'm not saying. I'm just saying.
Sure, sure. No, I know you're not saying to do it. You're just throwing it
Right.
out there, and it's a good thing to throw out there because Washington's season has certainly taken a turn from the loss. And God, what a should 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 Dan Quinn wear that for playing Daniels late in that game?
I didn't get to see his entire something about just
Well, why is he in the game? 38-7. The
yeah.
game's over. Daniels is just coming back off the injury. I know that hindsight's 2020, and there's a point of pride about wanting to play, and captain goes down with the ship. It's how Ben's mentality always was. But man, you can't get to protect the player in that situation.
Yeah, especially he's coming off of the other injury and all like that, and the game's out of reach, and he's your franchise guy, and you want to at least get him playing time the rest of the season, no matter. Yeah, you got to get him out of that game and get Mariota in there.
Yeah, I know they said, well, they were being careful and they were handing the football off and they weren't really asking Daniels to do anything. And him running the ball in that play was a freak thing that almost never would have happened, wasn't the intent. But okay, that's the plan. If you're just really kind of mailing it in and hand the ball off, then take Daniels out. If you're trying to score for some reason, okay, maybe you could justify keeping him in. But if you're saying we're kind of done here, then pull the guy. But terrible injury and just hope he gets recovered as soon as possible.
All right, will they trade for a wide receiver? Yes or no?
Oh, man. My heart says no. My brain says yes because there's been so much media smoke. Like every insider saying they're going to do it. Of course, they say that every single season. They did do it finally last year. To put me on the spot, I'm going to say no. I don't know. I'm probably wrong about this. I'm pretty good at being wrong about predictions, especially predicting will the Steelers win or not. I've been so bad this year. But I'll say no. I think they surprise and say, you know what, the price tags are too high. We like our offense. We really like the cohesiveness of the group. Let's roll with what we got.
Yeah, my fanboy says yes, they will, but my gut says they won't do it.
So
Now on,
what's your final answer? What are you locking in
I
here? I'm locking
I
in no.
I'm locking in no as well too.
Okay.
What about this latest with Marquez Valdez Scantling?
Yeah, apparently. And this is really not a surprise because the reporting seemed to indicate that he's going to sign. Is it this week or next week that he's expected to sign? This week, per Jerry Dulac.
Right, and if indeed that's the case, then why are you going to go out and trade for a wide receiver then?
Well, I mean, MVS's practice squad, you still could go add somebody. I don't know if MVS is going to block you. I think the lack of a market, the price tags, and the fit in the offense are the bigger obstacles than Valdez Scantling. But that is going to add some help. And the guy can still play and has the connection with Aaron Rodgers. So, yeah, I mean, another guy that could be in the mix here. But yeah, that's apparently going to happen this week to the practice squad, which is what the reporting, even initially last week, said would eventually occur.
What's a position other than wide receiver that this team could potentially trade for?
Yeah, I don't see anything super obvious. Offensive line help with Sayamalu. I don't know what the severity is there, but if you lose Sayamalu for some stretch of time, I didn't like the quick rule out on him. Now, he stayed in uniform. He was on the sideline unattended, so if he had suffered a major injury, I think he would have gone back maybe for more imaging. I don't know. I'd ask Dr. Mel about all that, but Jackson Powers Johnson with the Raiders has kind of been floated. He got benched, and he's fallen out of favor on the new spy tech Carroll regime that did not draft him. Pittsburgh showed him some love in the pre-draft process. Could he be a cheap pickup?
Yeah, I think potentially offensive line. What about interior plugger on
I thought
defense?
about that. I mean, I thought about Tavondre Sweat in Tennessee. They're selling, but you got Y.A. Black playing nose tackle snaps. He's finally playing nose tackle, albeit on a backup status, which is what people have been pining for. So why do you want to take away snaps from Y.A.?
Okay.
And Ben's playing well.
Obviously they're set at linebacker right now. Inside and outside.
Could you add a corner if Ramsey's going to go play safety full time? Could you get corner help? I mean, you kind of got a little bit thinner there.
Yeah, I guess who and what for, you know?
Yeah, I mean, you can come up with a bunch of names. I mean, Alante Taylor with the Saints, even that seems to be pretty high price. I mean, I don't know. Maybe there's some corners sitting out there. I mean, I'm just kind of spitballing
Right.
ideas, but I think offensive line, corner, receiver, receiver being the most likely are the areas to watch.
All right, one other thing I think we should maybe get to about post game comments and all like that about what Jalen Ramsey had to say to this team Saturday.
Yeah, this is Aaron Rodgers, so we're kind of getting the words through him that the night before Ramsey, everyone has your team meetings. You're in your, yeah, people forget. I think this is how Pittsburgh does it. You're in the hotel for home games. You're even the night before a home game. You're not in your own house. You go to the hotel, you sleep there, so everyone's together. They go to the game together. That's generally how NFL teams work. And so they got together for a meeting Saturday, and Rodgers said that Ramsey got up and spoke to the entire team, didn't really specify exactly what he told the team, but just said, like, bring an edge, bring an energy that's been missing from this team in recent weeks, and kind of galvanized the team, Rodgers said. So kudos to Ramsey for stepping up and being a leader.
Yeah, absolutely. Roger says very impactful what he had to say.
So, guys being leaders. And Ramsey does not always have the best reputation. And, people called him a mercenary and kind of, hired gun of sorts throughout his career, bouncing from place to place, always traded. But he's a guy that does not say a whole lot in front of the media, which is fine, makes his impacts and is pretty loud on game day and apparently in that meeting before kickoff.
All right.
All right, Dave, that's all I got. Let's get to some reader emails to close out today's show. And just a reminder, Dave and I answering more of your Steelers questions tonight, 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Just search my name on YouTube and you can find Dave and I 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. Eastern Time.
All right. Dustin Stover writes in, D-line help. Thoughts on bringing in Christian Wilkins for some help? He is currently a free agent, is he not?
I forget what happened. He got released by the Raiders. I don't know where he ended up this year. It looks like he is a free agent, yes.
All right. If you're gonna, I would expect them to swing a little bit more for deeper for the fences if they were to. And we just talked about whether or not this team, could this be an under the radar position the team trades for. I haven't. A guy on the street like that for as long as he's on the street, probably on the street for a reason there. So I would probably not expect something along those lines to happen.
I mean, he can probably still play. He got that big money bag with the Raiders and had a weird falling out. And I didn't even know what happened with the Raiders' tenure ending there. But again, I like Y.A. Black getting some more snaps there. I don't want to take away snaps from these young guys. I don't want to take away snaps from Calvin Austin, even Roman Wilson. Despite that fumble, let's get him some more playing time. Let's evaluate him. So I really don't want to add there. If anything, I might add at cornerback to give myself some depth if the plan is to play Ramsey at safety the rest of the way.
All right, Rob is pretty mad at Roman Wilson here. Rob from Columbus, Ohio, by way of Indiana, PA. First time, long time. All right, Rob. I think between the injuries and inconsistency, Roman Wilson is not a long-term value add for this club. Along that line of thinking, I would like to see him cut as a message to this locker room, coaching staff, and everyone involved after such a big win. Interested to hear your pros and cons. I'll hang up and listen. All right. Was it? We talked about Roman Wilson fumble earlier in the podcast and all like that. Very unfortunate. He's got to be more situationally aware in that. But you still dealing with a young player, still trying to get playing time. Getting more playing time. Made a couple of nice catches in that last game. Got the touchdown in the end zone. Strong hands against the Packers and all. Look, it was a mistake. A young player making a mistake. I don't think you cut him as a message to anybody here. No, I do not. Now, might he see his playing time? We'll see if this team goes out and gets another wide receiver via a trade or whatnot. Much like the Caleb Johnson thing earlier in the year, you got young players you try to suffer through. Has he shown to be that guy long-term moving forward? No, not yet. But remember, Calvin Austin had that injury early on, and we was wondering, if Calvin Austin would ever be able to make such a mark with this team, and he obviously has. Short answer: no. I'm not cutting Roman Wilson.
Not only that, but Austin also had a really quiet second season, partly due to playing under Matt Canada. Had that one big touchdown against the Raiders, and that was kind of it for him. Yeah, I mean, you know, let's not give a life sentence for a guy that shoplifted. Like you can you can correct and point out the mistake, which I'm sure Wilson is well aware of. He doesn't need to be told that it was a mistake, but still to reinforce it, you can do those things and hold him accountable without having to cut him from the team. You can send the message effectively without having to go to those permanent measures. So, young guy in his first year playing, probably pressing, trying to do too much, isn't getting the ball in his hands a lot. He wants to make the play and be the hero. So you want to rein that in and understand it's the team before self. But I think he's made some good plays the last couple of weeks, prior to this game against the Bengals, against Green Bay, obviously. I want to see that more going forward. So it's a teachable moment. You hold him to account for sure, but you don't have to go tell the guy to get lost.
I needed you as my public defender early on in my life.
Dave is innocent of all allegations, whatever they may be, and I will defend that strongly. And my bill is in the mail.
I didn't do it, and if I did do it, you couldn't prove it.
If you could prove it, it was legal. I don't know.
Bill Ewan writes in, "Oh, ye of little faith." He says, "I knew Daniel Jones would remember he was Daniel Jones at some point. Happy it was against us." So to my question for you guys, how much of what the D did today is transferable going forward? Obviously, 6 takeaways isn't, but they look pretty good outside of that too. I think Alex hit on a big thing early on in this game. You take that running game away from Daniel Jones, the ability to lean on that, the ability of him to lean on play action, which he couldn't do, the ability to give him different looks the way this team did in the secondary with Ramsey at free safety and Duggar in there, the way they utilize their inside linebackers, having 3 on the field, getting them in situations late game where you could get after all of that combined together, I think played a role in Daniel Jones having the game that Daniel Jones had. Transferable going going forward. I think it's going to depend. Look, once again, there were certain I'm not taking anything away from the defense partly, but there were times where the Colts were starting to move the ball, and then you got these splash plays. And Alex hit on another good thing, that this is the culture on this defense is to make either these sacks on 1st and 10 like Alex Highsmith did to get the offense behind the chains, or to come up with these big splash plays, takeaways that they did. How transfer here's the thing, we talked about this a couple of times. Yeah, win a couple, lose a couple type thing. You go one game from, oh, fire everybody, this team's can't do anything, to here we are now. I got a feeling,
Right. Walking on sunshine.
yeah, I'm
Yeah.
walking on sunshine. Yeah, we got to watch how this thing transpires through multiple games. It was a great showing by the defense. Our suggestion is to keep that blitz rate low, like it is, to continue to play these split safety looks, focus on stop and run, tackle the catch, don't give up a lot of yak, and hopefully you get in situations where quarterbacks can't get the ball out as quick, or if they do get it out quick, it goes underneath and you tackle it, and you play another down there. So it's impossible to say how transferable it is going forward, but you did just beat arguably the best offense in the AFC, and with and you beat them with great defensive play.
I think it's transferable. I think playing good run defense and flying around the football and tackling, well, the tackling was really good too. Got to give that credit. It's been, because as you pointed out, Dave, it's been really, really bad the last couple of weeks. Our Josh Carney's burnt the midnight oil charting the missed tackles for this team, and that was less of an issue in this game. Tyler Warren, 5 catches, 26 yards, season low for him. Could not stop tight ends. You stopped one of the top tight ends in the NFL to date. I think it's, you're not going to get 6 takeaways, as what was it, Bill that said so, and I agree, obviously, but you can still get two takeaways a game and stop the run and play with great effort and tackle well and play with energy and physicality. Those things are transferable, and Pittsburgh has largely done over the last, 5-6 years defensively. They've generally been that kind of unit. Now, as we talked about, things ebb and flow, and as you rightly pointed out, you're feeling high this game, you go lay an egg against the Chargers, everything's vibes are bad again. So you don't want to be the prisoner of the moment, but certainly I think it's proof of concept of what Pittsburgh's defense can be and should be and needs to be and is capable of being on any given game.
What did Watt say to Evan Washburn after the game? You got that quote?
I remember the interview. What particular part were you
He's
talking
talking
about?
about can't be licking themselves, or
You're right. That was there's a phrase for you. Say can't lick ourselves, and basically saying can't get too high on this moment because you got to go attack week 10, which is fair. Chargers will be without Joe Alt, and their tackles are looking rough. They're already without Rashawn Slater, who went down before the year began, I think it was. So Pittsburgh has a great opportunity. We've seen Pittsburgh struggle in those matchups before, where they should be getting more pressure, but. It's always one game at a time, and we'll keep watching. It's why we didn't call for firings. It's why we didn't call for, go trade all these guys. We were critical, as we should be, but we're going to be a little more measured and kind of let things play out because the NFL can be so week to week.
Seeing a narrative float around, why didn't the Steelers win? Why didn't they win more?
Why didn't they win better, Dave?
Why didn't they win more gooder? As I like to say. Considering they had, 5 sacks, 6 takeaways there. Look, I think a lot of that too. The offense, this wasn't the offense's best game overall. I mean, and you got the takeaway on the punt buff, and you couldn't punch that in, and the offense, the Steelers' offense didn't do a great job of complement, other than putting the ball in the end zone a couple times, which they really needed to do on those takeaways. Outside of playing on short fields, the offense really didn't have that great of a game, and I think that played into it a little bit. Now, look, later in the game, you're just wanting to not give up the big play and all, but I said this earlier in the season. Look at what happened. Have we ever been in a more parity NFL? Look what happened to Green Bay against Carolina. Look what happened in the Chicago and the Bengals game. Look at what happened with Minnesota and Detroit. I mean, wins, I don't care how you get them. Wins in the NFL are precious. Just
Amen.
ask the Bengals about that. A couple of losses that they've had here over the last couple of weeks here. Do you think the Bengals would have cared what the style points would look like had they beaten the Jets and the Bears?
Yeah, absolutely. And it invoked the Mike Tomlin classic. There's a fine line between what is it, making wine and squashing grapes,
Right.
and it's one of my favorite Tomlinisms. Even though I kind of butchered it all the way through this comment, but the NFL's on the margins. It's hard to be dominant. And I get the principle. How do you only win by 7 when you first force 6 takeaways when you play the kind of game that you played? But the Colts had some late time scores. Your offense didn't always finish. And listen, you beat the 7-1 Colts. I mean, that's a great team over there. They've been playing great football all season. Hardly anyone has figured them out. I didn't care how you won this game. I just cared that you won it. And I think it was impressive for this defense to really bow up. I thought that Pittsburgh was going to win this game. It was going to be shootout, 35-31. Aaron Rodgers having to do it all to have your defense really respond when their backs are against the wall, taking a lot of heat, rightfully so, for the past 2 performances, was really, really encouraging. So I don't care how you win these games. You beat the 7-1 Colts. You get a big-time victory. You're 5-3. The Bengals falter. The Ravens are trying to make their push. So you want to keep a cushion there. I'm pretty happy today, Dave.
Alex, if I would have told you on Friday that, Alex, here's the offensive box score. The Steelers go 4 of 12 on third downs in this game. They run 61 plays. They average 3.7 yards per offensive play. They have 38 net yards rushing. They turned the ball over once, and they were sacked three times?
3 times.
3 times. Do the Steelers win this game?
No.
No. Right. So, the Colts are gonna win a lot more games this year. I guarantee you that.
And Pittsburgh still won this game handedly, even though it was a 7-point game by the final end of this thing. Pittsburgh was in control of this game for most of it. The Colts came out, they scored earlier than Pittsburgh, brought it back. I mean, how often have the Colts even trailed
Oh, no
this season?
explosive plays. I need to add that. No
Mm.
explosive plays either to add on to those other stats.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to look it up here, and I might still try to cobble together the numbers. I mean, how often have the Colts played from behind this season? They've lost only 1 game. So, I mean, it's they probably trailed more in this game than they have the entire season combined, if I had to kind of wager a guess, roughly. So, again, I'm happy with the win.
Would you like every game to be like the Seahawks manhandled the Commanders? Yes, but reality in today's NFL, that doesn't happen a lot. Let's take one more here from Jason Chadwell. Happy Victory Monday, Dave and Alex. At this point, would it be worth seeing what James Pierre could do running ahead of Darius Slay? He says, Alex, why can't you advance the ball after a muff punt? Third quarter, third down. He says, third quarter, third down, 3 or 4, and they tried to run it. He says, I don't like that. I'm with you there. I understand that's a RPO package play, but I sure wish they would have. And Mike Tomlin did go for it a couple of times on fourth down. So at least he got back in the column of doing that. So I understand that. I kind of had that play circled as well too. Does Porter's positives outweigh his 2 guaranteed penalties per game? Will this defense ever be able to handle bunches or stacks at the goal line? Lastly, don't look now, but the Steelers have beaten the top 2 seeds in the AFC. All right. I think first and foremost, you got to focus on that last statement that he made. The Steelers have beaten the top 2 seeds in the AFC.
Yeah, good point.
There. We already
Patriots
talked.
being the other, for those wondering
Right.
who the other team was.
Does Porter's positives outweigh his 2 guaranteed penalties per game? I think I brought up a good point that Porter, at least on the heels of those penalties, turned around and had pass breakups. So I like that. Could I do without these 2 guaranteed penalties per game? Absolutely. And he did have the interception. Was good to see late in the game as well, too. Lastly, the bunches out of stacks. They're still going to probably be some of these rub-offs and all. They're probably going to they're still going to give up some catches that way. So I think the key thing there is tackling the catch when you do give up some of those bunches out of stacks. They're going to get tested again by Jamar Chase and company here in a couple of weeks here. And you can't advance the ball after a muff punt. Talk about that.
Yeah, why that is, I mean, I just assume because it's a little, I guess, unfair to the return team. They have no one else down there generally, and so it'd be a touchdown probably in a lot of cases where it could be advanced. So I think you can't advance on a kickoff, and I guess the rules are different. I don't really know why they're different, but that's just how the rule books are. So that is the rule. I didn't make it. It's probably been a long-standing rule. Yeah, I mean, Porter, penalties have to get cleaned up for sure. But Pierre, he's played well this year. I've been really happy with his performance. But over long periods of time, he has struggled. His play is very hot and cold. It's hot right now. I think over time, you would be less enthused about James Pierre. And stacks and bunches. Yeah, I get tackling the catch, but what about when they go in the end zone, like the Josh Downs touchdown? Pittsburgh has to, man, every week they get killed on the Romeo Dobbs 2-point conversion. That's a stack they screw up. They screw up this one. I don't know what it is when these are veteran guys and they're not even new people. It wasn't like Duggar was involved in these communications. That play, I think it was Eccles and I don't know, Slay, I think it was. So they got to get this stuff right.
Absolutely, they do. All right, we got through some emails. Still got several more in here, but as usual, run a little bit long. We do have the live stream tonight for those of you that maybe want to hop into live stream and ask these same questions that are outstanding. And we'll get together at 7 o'clock Eastern tonight. You can find that by going to Alex Kozora's YouTube channel. He'll tweet that out about an hour or so before we get started there. So. Look, a win's a win. A win against a good team is even better. The Steelers are 5-3. They're the number 4 seed in the AFC right now. They lead the AFC North for another week, and yeah, you got get ready to go out west to play the Chargers, and the Steelers are 3.5 point road underdogs for that game, for a game that's going to be played on Sunday night. So we'll start getting ready for that. Mike Tomlin will hold his press conference on Tuesday. We'll get together on Wednesday, talk about the All 22, talk about what Mike Tomlin had to say, and anything else that happens, obviously, with this team. So in the meantime, you can follow me on Twitter/X at Steelers Depot. Follow Alex at Alex_Kozora. Follow the show at Terrible Podcast. Email the show, theterriblepodcast@gmail.com. If you like what we do and want to donate, SteelersDepot.com, hit the donate button. Also, if you'd like an ad-free version of the site, SteelersDepot.com, hit the ad-free button. Follow the directions, get a username and password, and hit the login, and use that username and password to log in and take advantage of the ad-free version. So, until Wednesday, as always, thanks for listening to the Terrible Podcast with Dave and Alex.